So today we are going to discuss about two important concepts. One is one of the object-oriented principle encapsulation, and second one is constructors. So basically, we'll start our session with encapsulation. So we are having three object-oriented principles. Object-oriented principles. What are the three object-oriented principles we are having? First one is inheritance, polymorphism, polymorphism, and the third one is encapsulation. So now we are going to discuss about encapsulation. We are going to discuss about encapsulation. See here, by using encapsulation, we are going to provide security for our application. Basic thing is, by using encapsulation, we are going to provide security for our application. Encapsulation, we provide security for our application. We provide security for our application. How we are going to provide security? That security is achieved by using private modifier. So we are going to provide security by using private modifier. Note on this point. Security is achieved by using private modifier. Private modifier. So basically what we are going to say is, we know that encapsulation means we are hiding some data. How we are going to hide the data? See here, basically basically encapsulation means it is a combination of private variables and public methods. It is a combination of private variables. It is a combination of private variables and public methods. Here, public methods means we are having two kinds of methods. One is setters, another one is getters. We are having, see here, encapsulation means what? It is a combination of private variables and public methods. Public methods means setters and getters. I'll tell you what is setters and what is getters now. Setters and getters. Setters and getters. Now observe here. Setter method is for Setter method is for setting the value. Setter method is for setting the value, and getter method is for getting the value. To get the value, we are going to use getter method. Now, how we are going to write the setter methods and getter methods? I'll explain you in an easy way. Now, observe here. So, in the same concept itself, I am going to explain you about this keyword also. We'll discuss about this keyword also here. Now see here, for the purpose of encapsulation, I am going to create one separate package. Now see here, right click on src, new package. Now see here, com.madhu.encapsulation, com.madhu.encapsulation. Now click on finish. Now see here, create a package. Now after that, create one class, new class. See here, I am creating a class called employee. So in this class, I am going to create some private variables, and see here, if you apply private modifier for variables or methods, we cannot access outside the class, right? So in this concept, I am going to explain you how we are going to access this private data outside the class, these private variables, how we are going to access outside the class. Now see here, for this employee class, I am creating some private variables. For employee, what are the fields we are having? Int id, private string, private string name, private float, salary. So let us take these fields we are having for an employee. Now, for each and every private variable, we need to create setters and getters. Now I'll explain you how we are going to create setters and getters. Observe here. So for each and every variable, we need to create setters and getters. Now, one thing is Eclipse will generate automatically the setters and getters. Once if we first we'll know how we are going to create the setters and getters, then I'll explain you how Eclipse is going to create these setters and getters. Now, see here for these private variables, we are going to create public methods. To access these private variables outside the class, we are going to give public methods. So for each and every variable, we need to create setter method and getter method. Now, see here, public void. So first we are writing setter method here. Set id of. See here. So that is which kind of data? Integer kind of data, right? So public void set id of int id. Inside this class, here we need to take this dot id is equal to id. I'll explain you after 5 to 10 minutes what is the use of this keyword. Now observe here, this dot id is equal to id. Like this we need to write setter method, and then we need to write getter method. Public public, see here, this is which kind of data? If you want to get the data, we need to return some integer kind of data. See here, public int get id. So for setting the value, we need to take one argument. As for integer type of data, we are taking int id. Now for getting the data, we need to write this is what integer type of data. But whenever we are taking some another return type instead of void, compulsory we need to take return statement. Compulsory we need to take what? Return statement. Here return id. Like this we need to create for each and every variable. We need to create like this setters and getters. Of course Eclipse will generate automatically. First we need to know how we are going to write this setters and getters. Now for name also we need to take like this only. Public, see here, void set id of, sorry, set name of string name. Set name of string name. Now see here, this dot name is equal to name. Similarly for getter method also, public. So this is what? String type of data. String get name. Public string get name. So we need to take what? Return name. Similarly for salary also. See here, we are having only three variables. We are writing setters and getters. So in real-time application development, we will be having some hundreds of variables. So for all the variables, we will be creating only one class, but we cannot write the setters and getters. So like statically, automatically Eclipse will generate. So I'll explain you how Eclipse is going to generate these setters and getters. Now basically first, see here, public void set salary of, public void set salary of float salary. Here this dot salary is equal to salary. Now again we need to get the data, right? This which kind of data? Float kind of data. Public float get salary. Public float get salary. Now see here, return salary. Like this we need to get the data. Now in the next example I'll explain you how we are going to get these setters and getters. Basically now see here. Now I have taken for each and every variable setters and getters. Now for the purpose of main method, I am going to create one more class. Right click, new class, test. Observe here now. In this test class, I will be creating a main method. This main method, now I am going to create object for our class. What is our class name here? Employee. Now see here, employee sum. Employee is equal to new employee. Now see here, these private variables we cannot access outside the class. For that purpose only we are taking these setters and getters. So by using this setter method, we are going to set the value. By using these setter methods, we are going to set the value for those variables. Now see here, employee dot set id of, see here, set id, there we have created, right? By using that setter methods, we are going to set the value. Now I am giving some data, set id. Next I am going to set some name, employee dot set name of, observe here, Madhukumar. Now employee dot set salary of some salary now dot 0 f some value. Now we need to get the data. See, like this we are going to set the values by using setter methods. If you want to get the values, we need to call by using getter methods, right? So here, now see here how we are going to get the data. System dot out dot println of here employee employee id employee id is plus employee dot get id. Like this we need to get the data by using getters. System dot out dot println of employee name employee name plus employee dot get name. Similarly, system dot out dot println of employee salary now plus employee dot get salary. Like this we need to get the data. See here we have taken this dot id is equal to id, this dot name is equal to name, right? So first basically I'll explain you disadvantages if you don't use this keyword. What are the limitations if you don't use this keyword? Then I'll explain you what is the advantage of this keyword in this concept. See here I'm removing this keyword here. Just I'm taking here id name, and here also I'm removing this keyword out. Now save this one. After saving this one, now in this test class, if you run this one, now if you observe the output, what we are getting now, see employee id is what 0, employee name is null, employee salary is 0, 0.0. So what we need to observe here is, while we are creating variables in Java, while you are creating variables in Java, default value for integer type of data is 0, default value for string type of data is null, default value for salary is 0, 0.0. So if you don't use this keyword, the direct default value is going to be taken here, and this value we are going to get directly. The default value for integer is 0, the default value for decimal type of data float is 0, 0.0, default value for string type of data is null. So if you don't use this keyword, we will be getting the default values. By using this keyword, we are going to get the current class reference data. If you don't use this keyword here, sorry, if you don't use this keyword, what is happening here, we will be getting the default values. Now if you use this keyword, what is the advantage here? Now observe here, I will be taking here this keyword for this variables. Now I am applying this keyword, this dot id is equal to id. Now again here also this dot name is equal to name, and here this dot salary is equal to salary, this dot salary is equal to salary. Now save this one and once again run this sample. Now see here we are getting the current class reference data. This is what the advantage of this keyword. Now here write down this point also. Now here if you don't use this keyword, if you don't use this keyword, we will be getting the default values. We will be getting the default values. By using this keyword, we'll get the current class reference data. We will get the current class reference data. We'll get the current class reference data. Now observe here, what is our current class here? First basically our current class is employee. Our current class is what? Employee. Current class reference is what? Employee. If you want to get this data, we need to use this keyword. If you don't use this keyword, by default we will be getting the default values. Like this we are going to work with encapsulation. I am going to explain you one more example in encapsulation. Here we have taken setters and getters, right? So I'll explain you in this example how Eclipse is going to generate these setters and getters. Here we are having only 3 variables, that's why we have created directly, but in real time environment we will be getting n number of variables. For those variables we cannot write these setters and getters, we don't want to waste time. Automatically how Eclipse is going to generate these things. See here, I'm going to create one more class here. I'm going to create one more class. Let us take a class called student. Let us take a class called student. Now, for the student class, see here, for student, what we'll be having? Private int some. See here, some meaningful I'm giving here. Private int student ID, STUID, private string, private string student name, private string, private string student address. So in this example, what I'm going to explain you is how we are going to get the generate, how Eclipse is going to generate these setters and getters automatically. Now observe here. So what you need to do here is, after creating the variables, whatever the variables you want, after the creating the variables, for example here, private string, you need to take branch also. Private string student to branch. So I have taken some values. Now I want to generate these setters and getters automatically. See here, right click on your class, right click on your class. We will be having here a field called source. Source generate setters and getters. Right on this point here, right click on your class, source generate setters and getters. If you click on this, if you click on this, here you will be getting one pop-up. Select all. If you click on select all, automatically all the variables are going to be selected, and then click on OK. If you click on OK, automatically Eclipse is going to generate these setters and getters. We are not going to write any setters and getters. We are not going to write any setters and getters. Now see here, save this one. Now observe here, I have taken setters and getters for all the variables. Like this we need to take. Now in this test class, see here, now I am going to pass the values. I am going to keep this one in comments for this example. Now keep this one in comments. Now similarly I am going to create object for our student class. Student is equal to new student. Now see here, student dot set student id of, see here, automatically Eclipse is going to generate these things also. So some value. Now student dot set student name of some value here. Student dot set student address of Hyderabad. Student dot set student branch of, take some branch here, CSC. Save it. We have set the values. Now we need to get the values. How to get the values? See here, already we have taken here. We have given getter methods for getting the value in student class. Observe here, for each and every variable we have taken getter methods also. In this test class, system dot out dot println of student id. Here plus is what? Concatenation operator. Concatenation operator. After giving that student id, we need to get student dot get id. Get student id. Similarly, system dot out dot println of student name plus student dot get student name here, student salary plus student dot get salary, student dot not salary, sorry, get student address. Here you need to take address address. Now system dot out dot println of, student branch, student branch plus student dot get branch. Save it. Now run this sample now. If you observe this, we will be getting like this exact output. Like this. So what I said here, we are going to provide security by using private modifier. So if you want to access this private data outside the class to provide security, we are going to take public methods. Public methods means what? Internally we are going to give the data. Directly we are not going to give the data anywhere. For variables directly we are not giving. What we are giving by using public methods, we are going to pass the data for these variables like this. Now what you need to understand here is how Eclipse is going to generate these setters and getters. Clear, right? We can call like this also. So one thing is right click on your class, source, generate setters and getters. One thing is right click on your class, source, generate setters and getters. Or else one more shortcut key is there. See here. The second thing is just see here. We are having a shortcut key called Alt Shift S. Click on Alt Shift S. We will be having here. Click on R, select all, click on OK. Like this also we are going to get setters and getters. We can select from our class name, save it. Now see here, we can select, right click on your class, source, generate setters and getters, or else Alt plus Shift plus S, click on R and select all. We are going to get automatically these setters and getters. This is about our encapsulation concept. Any doubts?
No, so it is basically used only to protect the data, right?
Exactly, exactly. Just only for the purpose of creating variables, we are going to use this concept with setters and getters. Nothing more than that. In our application development, we will be having variables, right? For all the variables, we will be creating one class. So every variable should be compulsory, should be private only. To access this data, we are going to apply public modifiers like setters and getters. That's it.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah.
Amadi, can you please quick overview review it?
Yeah. Okay. Now, see
Thank
here.
you.
Fine. So actually, we are having three object-oriented principles. So basic thing is inheritance, polymorphism, and encapsulation. The encapsulation plays a very key role in our application development. So what we are going to do is by using encapsulation, we are going to provide security. So if anyone asks you about encapsulation, we should say that by using encapsulation, we are going to provide security. That security we are going to achieve by using private keyword. Where we are going to apply this private modifier or private keyword, we can call it as keyword or modifier. We are going to apply this private modifier for variables. So in order to access data, in order to access these private variables outside the class, we need to apply, we need to take public methods. We need to take what? Public methods. Those public methods are what? Setters and getters. Public setters and public getters. Now, setter method is for setting the value, getter method is for getting the value. So, it is a combination of private variables and public methods. That's what I said here. By using security is achieved by using private modifier. That means what? Private modifier we are going to apply for variables only. For those variables, in order to access the data, we are going to use public methods. Those public methods are what? Setters and getters. Setter method is for setting the value and getter method is for getting the value. Anywhere we can access this data by using public methods only, but not by using variables directly we cannot access. Only by using these public methods only we are going to access this data. This is what our encapsulation concept is. And we are going to apply this keyword to access this data. If you want to get current class reference data, we are going to use this modifier, sorry, this keyword. If you don't use this keyword, we will be getting the default data. If you want to get the current class reference data, current class data, present data if you need, we are going to use this keyword. This is about our encapsulation concept. Like this we have created, we have taken some private variables. So for these private variables, Eclipse is going to generate automatically. How Eclipse is going to generate? Just right click on your class, right click on your class, source, generate setters and getters. We should not type anything. Generate setters and getters. Automatically we are going to get setters and getters. At present we don't have any fields. Any fields means there are no variables to generate setters and getters. Already we are having. That's what it is saying. This is about encapsulation. Clear? Any doubts? Just for purpose of creating
No,
nothing more than that.
thank you. Thank you.
Fine. So our next concept is constructors. One of the important concept, mainly for the purpose of memory management, we are going to use. See here, constructors. So first observe this definition, then we'll go through an example. Finally, we are going to get the again we will be getting into the concept. Now see here, constructor. Observe this definition. Constructor is also one kind of method. It is also one kind of method. It is also one kind of method which can be called automatically when we create an object. Observe this definition very carefully here. Constructor is also one kind of method which can be called automatically when we create an object. What does it mean? What I am saying here is constructor is also one kind of method. It is just similar to method only. But the thing is, whenever we are creating an object, at the time itself constructor is going to be called. How it is going to be called? Now I am going to explain you in an easy way. First, we are having some rules to define a constructor. Rules to define a constructor. We are having mainly two rules. The first rule is class name and constructor name should be same. Class name and constructor name, class name and constructor name should be same. First rule is class name and constructor name should be same. Second rule is there should be no return type for constructor. Only we are having two rules to define a constructor. First rule is what? Class name and constructor name should be same. And second rule is no return type for constructor. No return type for constructor. There should be no return type for constructor. Basically, what you are going to learn in this concept is, what are the things you are going to learn is, so first you are going to learn what is the default constructor. First one is what is a default constructor. Second one is what is parameterized constructor. Second one is parameterized constructor. And the third one is constructor overloading. Constructor overloading. And the last one is constructor chaining mechanism. You are going to learn about this concept in constructor. Okay. So by taking an example, I am going to explain you all these things, how we are going to get in our sample. So you are going to learn about these things: default constructor, parameterized constructor, constructor overloading, and next one is constructor chaining mechanism. Now observe here. For the purpose of constructors, I am creating one separate package here. Now close this one. See here, right click on src, new package, com.madhu.constructors. com.madhu.constructors. Now see here. So basically here I am going to create a class. Right click, new class. Now here I am going to create a class called sample. Now observe carefully here. I have created a class. Now here I want to create one constructor. What I said? What is the constructor here? Definition is what? Constructor is also one kind of method. Here constructor is also one kind of method which can be called automatically when we create an object. Now, okay, forget about this definition also. To create a constructor, so rules to define a constructor or rules to create a constructor. The first rule is what? Class name and constructor name should be same. There should be no return type for constructor. First rule is what? Class name and constructor name should be same, and there should be return type means what here? You should not write any void or int or float, anything you should not take. Just see here, class name and constructor name should be same. Like this we need to create sample. This is just like method only, right? And we are applying here two rules. First rule is what? Here see, class name and constructor name is same, and second one is what? There should be no return type constructor. Before the constructor here, I am not creating any return type. Now see here, system.out.println of. Here I want to print here. This is a default constructor. This is a default constructor. See here, default constructor means if you don't pass any arguments to a constructor. See here, this is a constructor. Class name and constructor name is same, and there is no return type. Default constructor means if you don't pass any arguments to a constructor, then that is nothing but default constructor. This is what our default constructor. Default constructor. If you pass arguments to a constructor, then that is nothing but parameterized constructor. If you pass arguments to a constructor, then that is nothing but parameterized constructor. Int a, comma, int b. Now see here, here I have passed arguments, then this is nothing but parameterized constructor. See here I have said default constructor means constructor with no arguments. Constructor with no arguments. Parameterized constructor means what? Constructor with arguments. Constructor with arguments. If you pass arguments for a constructor, then that is nothing but parameterized constructor. See here, int c is equal to a plus b. I am performing some calculations inside this constructor here. It is also one kind of method. We can perform any functionality. It's our wish. Now int c is equal to a plus b. System dot out dot println of a plus b value is plus c. Now save this one. Now see here, I have taken 2 arguments. I can take 3 arguments also, right? I can take 4 arguments. I can take n number of arguments. Now see here, I can take 3 arguments also. Sample of int a comma int b comma int c. Now open this one. Int d is equal to a plus b plus c. I can perform some calculations. I can perform some functionality, whatever I require. Here system dot out dot println of a plus b plus c value is plus d. Now save it. Observe here. Here it is a default constructor. This one is what? Parameterized constructor. Parameterized constructor. Now see here, constructor with no arguments. Same constructor name. Here also same constructor name with 2 arguments. Same constructor name with 3 arguments. So similar to method overloading, constructor overloading is also possible in Java. That's what my intention here. See, method overloading means what? Same method name with a different number of arguments. Here also same constructor name with a different number of arguments. So similar to method overloading, constructor overloading is also possible in Java. Here we are overloading the constructor. Here we are overloading the constructor. Now observe here how we are going to call these constructors, how we are going to satisfy the definition. I am going to explain you now. Now create a class called test. Right click, new class test. In this test class I am creating a main method. In this test class I will be creating a main method. Inside this main method I am creating object for our class. Now how to create an object? Class name, some reference variable is equal to new class name. Now if you observe this, sample is equal to new sample. This is what? Our default constructor. Now see here, if you run this sample, this is a default constructor. See how we are getting? So what I said the definition here, constructor is also one kind of method which can be called automatically when we create an object. Here we are creating the object. While we are creating an object, at that time only constructor is going to be executed. That's what I said in the definition now. Now see here, what we are calling here? We are calling the default constructor. Now if you want to execute this parameterized constructor, what we are going to do? Now we need to take one more reference variable. We need to create one more object, sample space some reference variable is equal to new sample of int a comma int b. I am going to pass some values here, 12 comma 14. Now save it. Observe this one here. sample 2 is equal to new sample of 12 comma 14. Now program execution starts from where? Program execution starts from main method. In the first line what we are having, sample is equal to new sample. JVM understands that we are having a default constructor first that need to be executed. By default this default constructor is going to be executed. See here, this one is executing. Now whatever the logic we are performing inside this default constructor, that logic is not to be executed. Now in the second line what we are giving here, we are creating one more reference variable for our sample class, and for this constructor we are passing two parameters. Now see here, whenever we are passing these two parameters, JVM understands that we are having a two arguments parameterized constructor. That constructor need to be executed. These parameters are going to be stored in this 12 comma 14 are going to be stored in this two arguments parameterized constructor, and this logic is going to be executed. Now similarly the third line, again see here, in order to call three arguments parameterized constructor, again sample sum sample3 is equal to new sample of int a comma int b comma int c. Now see here, 12 14 sum 18. I am passing for three arguments parameterized constructor. Again here JVM understands that we are having a three arguments parameterized constructor. That constructor need to be executed. These 12 14 and 18 are going to be stored in this three arguments parameterized constructor, and this logic is going to be executed successfully. But here the limitation is, for calling each and every constructor, we are creating a separate object, right? For calling this default constructor we are creating separate object. For calling this two arguments parameterized constructor we are creating one more object. Again for calling this three arguments parameterized constructor, again we are creating a new object. So for each and every constructor we are creating some separate object. But what I want is, I want to create only one object and I want to call all the three constructors. I want to create only one object and I need to call all the three constructors. How it is going to perform? Observe here now. Here constructor overloading means same constructor name, same constructor name, same constructor name with different number of arguments, with different number of arguments. Now observe here. Now first what I'm going, so what is our intention now? In order to call all the constructors I want to create only one object. Observe here, first what I'm going to do here is, listen carefully, we are having what? Default constructor. So I want to call this default constructor into this two arguments parameterized constructor. In Java we are having a predefined method called this. Okay, so don't confuse here, we are having this keyword and this method in Java. Okay, we are having this keyword is separate and this method is separate. This keyword is used for calling current class reference data. What is the usage of this method is, this method is used for calling one constructor into another constructor. See, what is the difference between this keyword and this method? What is the difference between these two things? Okay, here this keyword used for calling current class reference data, this method is used for calling one constructor into another constructor, constructor. Now see here, this is the difference between this keyword and this method. Don't confuse here, there is a lot of difference between this keyword and this method. This keyword is for calling only reference data, but this method is for calling one constructor into another constructor. Now observe here, this is what? Default constructor. I am calling this default constructor into this parameterized constructor by using this method. Now see here, now I am calling this constructor into this two argument parameter constructor by using this method. Again I am calling this two arguments parameterized constructor into this three arguments parameterized constructor by using this of, there we are having two arguments, right? So we need to pass two arguments like this. Okay, like this we are going to call one constructor into another constructor by using this method. Now observe here, I am keeping this logic in comments. Now see here, I am creating an object for our class sample. Sample is equal to new sample of 10, 20, 30. 10, 20 and 30. Now see here, so program execution starts from where? Main method, right? So while you are passing three parameters to a constructor, JVM understands that we are having a 3 arguments parameterized constructor. That constructor need to be executed first. Now basically it searches for the 3 arguments parameterized constructor. It searches for the 3 arguments parameterized constructor, and the values are going to be, those parameters are going to be stored in these 3 arguments 10, 20 and 30. Now see here, in the first line, JVM executes line by line, right? In the first line here, what we are having? This of a comma b. That means JVM understands that we are having a 2 arguments parameterized constructor. That constructor need to be executed first. Okay. While it is seeing, while JVM seeing this of a comma b, JVM understands that we are having a 2 arguments parameterized constructor. That constructor need to be executed. Here, the value of a and b is what? 10 comma 20. So here, this of 10 comma 20 will be stored now. So what JVM understands here? We are having a 2 arguments parameterized constructor. That constructor is need to be executed. So sample of int a comma int b. That 10 and 20 are going to be stored here. The value of a is 10 here. The value of b is 20. But in the first line, what we are having again here, in this method, we are having this method with no arguments. Again, JVM understands that we are having a default constructor. That logic need to be executed. So after seeing this method, what JVM understands is we are having a default constructor. That constructor need to be executed. So first, whatever the logic in default constructor, that logic is going to be executed successfully. Now, after completion of this method, what we are having, this functionality is going to be executed. Line by line it executes, right? Int c is equal to a plus b, and then it is going to print the value. That means what? In 3 arguments parameterized constructor, this line is executed successfully now. Then remaining lines of code is going to be executed successfully. Now observe here, if you run this one, control function F11 will be getting like this. But I'm having one doubt here. The doubt is, here you are passing the values of 10 comma 20, but in 2 arguments parameterized constructor, I don't want this 10 comma 20. I need some another values. If you want to change the values, directly we can give like this here, 25, and here give the value as for example 50. Now save it, and if you run the sample now, control function F11, so the logic is going to be executed successfully. Here the thing is, most important point, calling one constructor into another constructor by using this method is known as constructor chaining mechanism. That's what I want to say here. See here, constructor chaining means what? Calling, 1 minute, calling one constructor into another constructor, calling one constructor into another constructor. Note down these points. Calling one constructor into another constructor by using this method is known as constructor chaining mechanism. Constructor chaining mechanism is one of the important concepts. Constructor chaining mechanism. Like this we are going to call. Now see here, once again I am going to explain you this constructor chaining mechanism. See here what my intention is. By creating a single object, I want to call all the 3 constructors. So what I did, first I have called this default constructor into this parameterized constructor. See here, we are going to call one constructor into another constructor by using this method. So first I have called this default constructor into this parameterized constructor by using this method. Again what I did is, I have called this 2 arguments parameterized constructor into this 3 arguments parameterized constructor by using this. So we have, if you want to take directly a comma b, you can take, otherwise if you want to pass some another values, we can take directly pass the values. Now while you are passing the values, while you are passing 3 parameters, JVM understands that we are having a 3 arguments parameterized constructor. That first that constructor need to be executed. Now it searches for the 3 arguments parameterized constructor in the sample class, and the values are going to be stored here. Now JVM is going to execute line by line. In the first line, what we are having, this of some two parameters. So two integer values. That means JVM understands that we are having two arguments parameterized constructor that need to be executed first. So it is going to be executed successfully. Here in the first line, what we are having, again this method, again JVM understands that we are having a default constructor in our class. First that constructor need to be executed successfully. So first this constructor is going to be executed successfully, then remaining lines of code is going to be executed. Once it is completed, then this logic is going to be executed successfully. Here calling one constructor into another constructor by using this method is known as constructor chaining mechanism. Constructor chaining mechanism. This is about our constructors concept. Now, any doubts?
I have one question.